It's not a definitive. I think to be unapologetically authentic actually means to be in flow with that which I am.
Welcome to another episode of Hello Me, Unapologetically Authentic with Christine Siona and Michelle Lyle.
It's a lot easier for all of us, me included, to know when something doesn't feel yummy, right? When we know we're coming up against something that's an interesting energy or something different than our vibration, or that shows us a difference, and the world is full of difference, which is actually beautiful. Right. And then there's tools to land, like to not separate ourselves from this moment so that I could just be with this moment and still be myself and not get lost in the difference. It sounds like to be unapologetically authentic is this process of always leaning in, like to be flexible. I see this energy of like a paramecium or an amoeba, like just I'm not going to lose myself. I'm going to be with myself here. I'm going to see what this is. I'm going to observe the environment, and then I'm going to make a choice. So it's not a definitive. I think to be unapologetically authentic actually means to be in flow with that which I am. And yes, there could be things that bump up against you or feel energetically odd. And it might be, no one might even be in the room. It might just be, like I'm waking up feeling crunchy, dumpy, lumpy, grumpy, frumpy. If I'm a paramecium in like a new level of being a paramecium, then I'm willing to be in flow and to be flexible with that which that I am. Because unapologetically authentic also for me means I'm willing to grow and to change and to be uncomfortable. And so just because I think that's probably a huge paradox that people have, because we think like I'm all about joy. Woohoo! So I'm all about joy. I'm all about happiness. And the minute it's not feeling happy or fun, then there's a crunch, there's a thing. So how do I be authentically present with this and grow beyond this? And like, how do you know? You just said, like, most of the time, 99% of the time or whatever, you're just going along feeling really good and being yourself.
People come into our spaces and I learn new things through my connections. Like part of how I walk through the world is with relationships. People coming in and out of my life in different ways helps me grow based off of just like, for example, I'm spending time here with my friend. She has had an amazing life and has done things different than I have. So just having everyday conversations with her is expanding me because of the information she's sharing, and her life experiences that she's sharing are so very different than mine, that I'm getting this whole other worldly view just from sharing coffee with her. And like our relationship, you and me, you're always expanding my horizons. You're always asking me questions to take me like deeper and farther. So in essence, we say, like with my clients, I would say I would be taking them out of their comfort zone. I wouldn't necessarily say, aside from how I like to self-care, that I'm ever really in a comfort zone, because I live with such wonder and curiosity. And I'm like, your questions never take me out of my comfort zone, but they definitely grow me and expand me beyond where I am and what I know right now. Where I am and what I know right now is not necessarily comfortable or uncomfortable in terms of how I do my life. With clients, I'm often taking them out of their comfort zone so they can learn to grow and expand. And so they can step more into themselves, because oftentimes the clients that I'm working with have been stuck in a belief system or an environment of shutting themselves down. I used to be there. I'm just more in touch with who I am because I have spent at minimum a decade, specifically learning about who I am at a core fundamental level, because I believe when you know who you are and how you function, you get life to work for you instead of shifting and changing and getting life to work for you to fit into life to work for others. Did it at all touch on the question?
Yeah, well, I think that's part of it with, you know, authenticity, and authentic was the word for 2023. Probably because everything about that year was the opposite of it. And so it's really interesting to be a speck in the world spinning around the sun when there's this energy of almost like thirst for authenticity, if that was the word of the whole planet, however that got figured out, right? This authentic. And so for me, those ingredients is being like the earth, having a center so you can, you know, move around the sun and not get lost in the planets. That you find this center that you're, as you're saying, you know, lots of people have talked about doing the work, right? You do the work, you listen to yourself, you go within, you take indwelling time. And when you take indwelling time, you get to outgrow yourself because you're reflecting light inside of whatever this thing is. So as we're all spinning around the earth, spinning around on the earth as little specks, people wondering, you know, who they are, what I want to do when I grow up, what else is possible, and really hitting the wall throughout it all, no matter who we are, what we're doing, or where we're from, or, you know, how much money is in our bank account, or any of that. It really comes down to this, you know, to thine own self be true, land yourself in the earth, connect to that core of you, and be willing to be surprised. And maybe that core of you has been misunderstood or not honored and not listened to for so long that you don't even know who that is anymore. And that, I think, is the first step, is the willingness on the journey of authenticity and finding yourself. It's the willingness to plant yourself in you and listen, but listen with gentleness and kindness and the willingness to actually pivot. So I just see this energy of, you know, as you grow your own inner GPS system, if you've got your inner GPS system, it doesn't matter where you go because you're your own planet. You're your own choice maker. You're your own change agent. You're your own emotional reactionary machine, all of it. So plant yourself in you and listen and honor what's showing up, even if it's ugly. Just honor it. And then you can pivot. Then you can pivot with purpose rather than pivoting just because you can. Like, pivot with purpose, but you won't know where to pivot to if you're not centered. And you might be centered and realize you're standing in a pile of shit. Okay, so then you listen and you honor and you cherish whatever this is, and then you can pivot with purpose and actually create a whole new landscape that will contribute to you as you journey from this centered place. So for me, I think what people see and how an indicator for me that I'm being myself is I don't edit my words. I speak immediately that I have a thought. I And then afterwards I'll say, oh my God, did I say that out loud? Like, I do not edit my words. And I used to. So like that's a very visual indicator that there's a difference, because previously, in like lifetimes ago, I'd be in team meetings and I'd be taking notes and I'd da 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 da, and we're all, so we all have a purpose to do something connected to this common mission. And I'd have an idea, but I wouldn't share it, or I'd worry this isn't the right time to say this thing, save it for later, or oh, I shouldn't have said that. Like that inner chatter gone. And if I have an idea and I get this hit to say something, 99% of the time I just say it. Yeah. So I don't know if that makes any sense. I mean, we gather lots, so you've seen how I am. But I think that for me is one of the indicators that other people could see that I'm being myself. People might think I'm being myself, and I know I'm being authentic. Maybe that's the difference. I think if you're really going to be living your heart song and want to be authentic, you have to let go of everyone else's beliefs about you and points of views about you, and speak your truth to the mountaintops, knowing that your truth contributes to the whole planet. So it's not about, my words aren't just about me, but my words contribute greater. So the flip of that, when you're not being unapologetically authentic, you're saying things because you want people to do something. I don't know, like there's a tanglement of what you think your words are going to do, rather than like the Pied Piper just singing through town, and people get to choose what they want to create with that, rather than, marching through town and want everyone to march with you. That's not really being authentic. That's asking people to be you. I'm going to carry my light within me and walk softly and with potency. So I'm not, advocating that, like, I'm woman, hear me roar, like all, that we just all get out the megaphone. Brrr. We all have our own way of shining our light in the world. But that's the piece for me, is if I'm living an unapologetically authentic life, I am shining my light in the world. Even if other people think I'm broken. Even if I'm in a relationship that's toxic, I am shining my light in the world.
People can tell when you're authentic, whether you're speaking or not, by your presence. And they may not connect that it's authenticity. They just might connect that it's uncomfortable if they don't know themselves.
Yeah. But that's the shining part.
Right.
When you're
Yeah.
shining, you have this energetic radiance of that truth of you. Mm-hmm.
Always know myself. I didn't always know my truth. And so living authentic to myself is knowing myself, knowing my truth, and like walking my belief to who I am, regardless of whether I'm keeping my mouth shut in a situation or I'm speaking out loud. It's all authentic to me in that moment. But because my authenticity comes from inside, comes from my truth. So if you are navigating this world of figuring out where you want to go and being authentic with you, it starts with you. It starts with coming inside and getting to know yourself and your truth. And your truth will shift and change as you grow and let go of things that aren't actually true for you.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like all the expressions that we have out there about truth, like the truth will set you free. You know, we think that it's this thing out here. The truth, you can't handle the truth. Like all those expressions about truth. It's so interesting. Like I wonder I wonder how much indoctrination we've all had of what truth is. And we think it's out here. Like it's like, I don't know. Is that a truth? Wasn't there a game like Truth or Dare? As a kid, Truth or Dare? Truth. Would you rather kiss a lizard or kiss Johnny Kabalchik? Like, I mean, and then even if and then did we really tell the truth? Like, tell the truth. But the world of truth in that context is like, well, it's going to be true if I believe it true. Like, you're going to tell me something that's true for you, and I'm like, I think she's lying. That can't be true. Like there's this out here expert that checks off the boxes. Oh, yes, that's true. Little Wizard of Oz behind a curtain. But it's this truth. And we've been separated from the truth of who we be for so long, for so long, for so long. And I think that makes it really challenging. I mean, I love nurturing people's joy for themselves. And I think so much of the time while people don't understand what it is they really enjoy is because they've turned off that truth from within of what really lights them up, what makes them happy, what they enjoy doing, how they feel, how they like to be nurtured and contributed to. They're like, oh, I don't know. Like, do I get a hot blanket or a cold blanket? We put this truth out here rather than, and who do I dare say that I actually know the truth? But my truth is just for me. And my truth will set me free. Your truth will set you free.
It's such a deep, convoluted, mix in the pot that we could probably rant on for eternity. But for this particular call, let's wrap it up.
That's the beginning of a never-ending unveiling bundle. And yeah, I think for people listening, there's always more. I would invite people to get out their journal, listen to this conversation 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more, 9 times, and write down words that pop for you. Listen to what your body's telling you and what is feeling yummy and what's feeling crunchy and what that crunch is inviting you to. And what's really true for you? What does authenticity really mean to you? And how do you know when you're in it? Curious.
The inner truth. Tap into the inner truth. And if you don't know it, maybe it's time you find someone you can unpack it with and get to it. Because knowing who you are and the truth of you allows you to walk through life in a completely different way than when you're walking through life, thinking about everybody else and how they're going to receive you or how you want to be received.
Absolutely. Enjoy the journey, everybody. And like this, share this, drop us a comment, and enjoy the journey.